On a minute-by-minute basis, the human brain is bombarded with information, with what's important remembered and what's not ignored or forgotten.
As soon as they arrived, they were greeted by savages, and they got scared all over again. So they killed them all.
As the Europeans expanded, the frontier wars began with the Aboriginals, many of whom were hostile to the foreign invaders. Most famously, the Black War of Tasmania, which nearly wiped out the indigenous Tasmanians. But far more destructive to the Aboriginals was smallpox, which killed tens of thousands.
This deliberate forgetting allows for information deemed unimportant to be forgotten, allowing for more of what is deemed important to be retained. As memories get older, they are increasingly less likely to be retained, with the depredation or deletion of a memory engram. However, this process also allows effective traits to be relearned quickly.
The colonies were established to make money for royal families and wealthy colonists, and a small class of wealthy colonists who owned large plantations looked to increase their margins through not paying for the labor that generated their cash crops. So it wasn't that slavery was needed to develop the colonies, but rather that it was decided that this was the quickest way to enrich the people invested in getting rich.
Over the past 15 years, the idea memories undergo intrinsic forgetting via passive decay of time, retrieval-induced forgetting, and retroactive interference is being investigated, with a combination being the most likely.
According to scientists, forgetting things may be a sign of exceptional intelligence. The journal Neuron conducted a study that proved how forgetting things is a natural brain process. And this very process can make you way smarter. The paradox lies in the fact that a perfect memory doesn't always indicate high intelligence. Yeah, you have to accept this. If you remember a lot of stuff, it doesn't mean you're brighter than anyone else.
The pathways of acquisition and forgetting, at least in insects' olfactory memory, are being explained, with several processes, both in invertebrates and vertebrates' nervous systems, being shown to decide what is kept and what is discarded. With Hemmelreich 2018 identifying dopamine acting on the DAMB receptor that mobilizes calcium ion signaling to facilitate forgetting, and Medina 2018 identifying the DDA1 dopamine receptor's role in the acquisition or remembering.
Unique and spectacular marvel. Yet the way we humans live on Earth is sending it into a decline. Human beings have overrun the world.
Neuroplasticity is central to memory formation, with neurogenesis, the remodeling of the synaptic contacts, and the growth of dendrites allowing for adaptations to change and adapt over time in the central nervous system. Hebbian's synaptic plasticity is one theory about how our nerve cells self-organize, allowing for learning and long-term memory, with the number of signals passing from one synapse to another vital in the ability to learn and remember.
The thing about adolescence is that it's a big period of cognitive restructuring anyway, and what we don't want is for those patterns of anxiety to become hardwired, because we already know that a lot of the long-term adult mental health problems start in childhood and adolescence.
Remodeling of synaptic contacts is most active during neuronal and synaptic development, causing variations in storage, encoding and retrieval, explaining why adults have vastly reduced episodic memories of pre-puberty and are unable to recall episodic memories before the age of between 2 and 4, with the process of forgetting turning childhood memories into feelings of nostalgia about childhood stories, or deep-seated fear and negative emotions that are caused by childhood trauma.
Slavery. The amendment reads, in part, "Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, shall exist within the United States." All of that made perfect sense to me, minus this one part, except as a punishment for crime. Basically, that says you can punish a criminal with slavery. And we do, all over the country, all the time. It's called prison labor.
I'm 34 years old, and it doesn't feel like all lives matter. When I know I've spent my entire life smiling and doing everything I can to somehow account for the fact that I'm a dark-skinned black male. To make people feel at ease that I'm not a threat. It doesn't feel like all lives matter when folks who look like me are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by police than white people, according to a study conducted by Rutgers University School of Criminal Justice. It doesn't feel like all lives matter when a man who looks like me can be killed by police over $20. It's beyond disturbing.
Lest we forget that every black child is judged by society for the colour of their skin, when even the poorest white child can put a suit on and always fit in. Lest we forget we needed immigrants to keep our food cheap, and for nurses and cleaners to flatten the peak. Lest we forget who benefited from austerity and which workers are key. Lest we forget the ineptitude that's seeming endemic from the people we trust to keep us safe and deal with the pandemic. Lest we forget climate change is real and we must come together to let ourselves and this earth heal.
This is the last chance. There are short-term problems and long-term problems. A politician is tempted to deal with short-term problems all the time and neglect long-term problems. This is not only a long-term problem, it is the biggest problem humanity has faced, ever. Please examine it and please respond.